All right, here we go, jumping right into things, dividing decimals. And this is a concept that just involves a rule. Okay, so what I would do is freeze the frame, copy the notes, play the frame. Dividing fractions, there's a rule. First, move the decimal point, okay, to the point in the divisor all the way to the right. So all the way to the right here. So I'm going to change color. You want to be sure and do that. And then the second, so we've got like 3 steps to it. First, second, and third, okay? Then move the decimal in the dividend all the way to that same number of places. And then bring the decimal point up above its new position and divide. Those are the 3 steps. That's kind of a mouthful. And just so you know, um, let me start here with this example here at the bottom here, this one here. Uh, this thing here is called the divisor because I've got terms here, okay? The divisor, and that's whatever I'm dividing into something else is called the divisor. And this term here that I'm dividing into it, it's the dividend, okay? And just so you'll know, because those are actually in my rule, so that's the dividend there, okay? Just so you understand that. All right, so a typical kind of problem you might run into is I've got 4.374 divided by 0.03, okay? So this is the number I'm dividing into, 0.03. I'm dividing it into 4.374. All right, now, um, so again, here's my divisor and here's my dividend. All right, so the rule says to first move the decimal in the divisor all the way to the right. So you see it's here. I'm going to move it 2 places, uno, dos. So it's right here, okay? All right, so now it's no longer a decimal. Now it's just 3. I'm dividing 3 into this. Second step is to then move it in the dividend the same number of places. So in my dividend, here it is, I got to move it 1, 2 places. And then the third thing it says is to put it above. Okay, step thing is bring that decimal point above. Then you just do your math. You do your normal division where I'm dividing 3 goes into 4 one time. 3 times 1 is 3. Step 3 is to subtract. I get a 1, 3. Anyway, then I would just continue the number, but I've already got the decimal point here. If you forget how to do long division, I'm not going to cover it here. Go to YouTube and just type in how to do long division and watch a 3-minute video on that, okay? All right, let me show you another example here. Let me jump down to the bottom one here. Um, in the divisor, get rid of the decimal, so you move it, in this case, 1 place, okay? So I'm going to move it 1 place in the dividend, which puts it right here, and I'm going to put it right there above it in the answer, and then I'm going to divide 8 into 776.8, okay? Is essentially what you'd be doing. All right, over here, like a James Bond movie, I've got 007, okay? It's 3 places, so 1, 2, 3, move it 3 places. This is a good example because notice the problem I've got here. 1, 2, what do I do now? I'm going to fill in a 0. However many zeros you need, fill it in. 3, and so it's right there. Put it above in the problem. Now I'm dividing 7 into 5,320, basically, and that'll give me the correct answer. So those are the steps for dividing decimals. Let me show you another thing that might come up is rounding numbers off to the nearest fixed place in the tens, hundreds, or thousands. So you see this, okay? So you might want to freeze this frame and copy it. But again, it says rounding the numbers off to the nearest, this right here, rounding the numbers off to the nearest fixed place. And often it'll say round it off to the tens or the hundreds or the thousands place. It'll actually say something like that, okay? So let me show you what that looks like. It says find the answer to 4.3 divided by 0.7. So that's 0.7 into 4.3. Okay, I'm going to move my decimal 1 place here. I'm going to move it 1 place here. I'm going to put it above my answers. 7 goes into 43 how many times? Well, it goes into 42 6 times. So 6 times 7 is 42. Again, if you forgot how to do this, watch a YouTube video. Just find one. I'm going to subtract 7 does not divide into 1, bring down to 0, so 7 goes into 10 one time. Subtract these and get a 3. How many times does 7 go into 3? Doesn't bring down to 0. 7 goes into 34 times. Okay. All right. Now, this is how far I went. I'm going to show you why. Because in the question, it says to round it to the nearest 10th place. See the 10th place? Okay. In my answer, this 1 right here is in the 10th place. There's no 1th place. There goes 10th, 100th, 1000th. Okay. Since my 1 is the place I'm rounding to, the 10th place. If they asked me to round to the 100th place, I would have had to have kept doing my math down here till I got another digit over here so I could have a number to see if it was 5 or more, to see if I rounded up to 4, which was in the 100th place. But in this problem here, they're asking for the 10th place. So I look to the right and 4 is not 5 or more. So it stays the same. So the actual answer is 6.1 here, okay? Because 1's in the 10th place and the number to the right of it in the problem is not 5 or more, okay? So that's rounding to the nearest 10th place. And so then if I had like 0.147 and they ask you to round it to the nearest 100th place, okay, I would go tens, hundreds. This is in the 100th place right here. I would look to the right at this next number here and ask myself, is that 5 or more? Yes. So the answer would have been 6.15. Okay, that's rounding to the 100th place. All right. So whenever you're doing the math here, you have to go to one additional place to see if that new place is going to be 5 or more. Okay. Let me show you a story problem real quick here. Mark drove a total of 1,247.5 miles in 5 days. What was his average? Now, I'm modeling for you when you're doing story problems. Average, see how I'm highlighting that? Whenever they're asking for average, that often means that's one of those keywords for divide, for doing division, okay, when they want the average. What is the average number of miles that he drove each day, okay? Well, if I divide, since there were 5 days, 5 into 1.247.5, I don't have to move a decimal point anywhere here in my dividend, so I'm just going to stick it right here and I'm just going to do my math, and that'll tell me the average of how many he did in 5 days. Okay. All right. There are 1.6 kilometers in a mile. How many miles are there in 36.8 kilometers? Okay. So there's 1.6 kilometers in 1 mile. Okay. In one of these. Okay. How many miles? Again, they're asking for miles here. Okay. Are there in 36.8? Okay. Well, if I divide 1.6 into 36.8 kilometers, that'll tell me how many miles there are. And in this problem, I would move it one place here. So I would move it one place here, put it here, and then do the math. It's basically now 16 into 368. All right. Hope that helps.